Good morning. Today I'm speaking to Judith Baker, who writes as J.A. Baker. Good morning, Judith. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your books and how you became an author?
Yes, good morning. I'm Judith Baker, and as Donna said, I write as J.A. Baker. I write psychological thrillers. I've written, 10 books so far. I'm published with Bloodhound Books, and my first book was called Undercurrent. My most recent one was In the Dying Minutes, and my next book is due out on the 19th of January, and that is called Looking for Leo. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. I live in the northeast in a village near Darlington. I have 4 children who are all grown up. I have 2 grandchildren and another one on the way, which we're really excited about. We got that news on Christmas Day, so that was lovely. So that's something to look forward to. I work part-time in a primary school. I'm due back there tomorrow. We're in every day teaching children of essential workers and vulnerable children. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And here I am being interviewed by the lovely Donna.
Did you always want to be an author?
I did. When I was little, I used to write like little books, and I remember once giving one to the head teacher and she was quite impressed. But then, of course, you need to make money, life gets in the way, you have children, you have a daytime job. And I ended up doing a degree first at the Open University. And it was after I finished my degree, I kind of thought, what am I going to do now? And each evening I used to sit and write a little bit. It took me years, absolutely years of book after book after book, getting a little bit better, learning as I went along. Plenty of publishers and agents turning me down, too many to mention. And then it was in December 2017, I think, that I got an offer from Betsy at Bloodhound Books to get Undercurrent published. But yes, always in the back of my mind, I wanted to be a writer, always, yeah.
What authors inspired you growing up?
Oh, well, like all children, I used to read the Enid Blytons, the Narnia books, C.S. Lewis. And then I think it was as an adult, I read a book called Tideline by Penny Hancock, and that just blew me away. And that was the one that I've read it 3 times now, and I could easily read it again. And I just thought, I want to write a book like this. This is what I want to do. And that kind of put me in the right direction. Prior to that, I knew I wanted to write. I just didn't know what I wanted to write. I didn't know what genre. I knew that comedy was far too difficult. Romance, I don't think I could do. And I like reading and I like watching gritty dramas, really. So I thought something gritty, yeah, that's definitely for me, yeah.
Would you like to be a full-time writer?
Sometimes I think yes, and then other times I'm not sure, because I think I'd never leave the house. I need something, I need some experience of life, I need to get out there. I currently only work part-time. I used to be full-time in a school, and I'm now 3 days a week. So I think that's quite a nice balance to have, actually. And it gives me some life skills to get out there and, you know, and meet people. Otherwise, I could go for 4 or 5 days, and apart from walking the dog, I'd never go anywhere. So there's a plus and a negative side to it. So sometimes in the dead of winter, when it's cold and it's dark, I think yes, I'd like to write full time. But then in the summer, it's really, really hard to focus on writing when it's sunny outside. To sit in your house and just sit at that laptop and just write, that is tricky. So maybe as I'm 55 now. I shouldn't really say that. So, you know, maybe I'll retire early, who knows? And then if I do retire early, I will write full time. In between looking after all my grandchildren, obviously.
Yeah, you have your hands full, especially with a new one.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Do any of the kids at school inspire any of your stories or your characters?
Not so much the pupils, maybe the staff. And the actual education system. A lot of my books, the characters are teachers, because it's true, write about what, you know, I don't know how the police force works. I don't know how certain businesses work. I know how education works. So I do often crowbar that one in because it makes the story flow because I know all about it. So yeah, certain staff members, yeah, I've worked on those before now, yeah. Sometimes in a good way, maybe not so good.
Do your colleagues know that you write?
They know that I write. A lot of them buy my books. Actually, they have been really, really supportive. They've been brilliant, I have to say. The only embarrassing part was I once walked through a classroom because our classrooms connect. This was before the lockdown, obviously. And one teacher, who is a friend, had my picture up on the whiteboard and was using me as a lesson to teach about authors and writing for the children. So that was fairly embarrassing because I just caught them. I didn't know she was going to do it. And as I walked through, all the children pointed and stared and clapped. Yeah, that was a bit tricky. But yeah,
that's amazing.
My colleagues are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. I couldn't ask for better.
What's the favourite character you've written so far?
I would say it's still got to be Phoebe, who was in Undercurrent, my first book. She left such an impact. She really did, because she was so strange and forceful and devious and manipulative and damaged. And they're the kind of characters that I absolutely love. I love reading about them and I love writing them because there's so much to go on.
If you were put into your latest book, would you get on with the main characters?
Yeah, probably, because they've all got I like to think they've all got some depth to them, and they've all got flaws that you could work on. They've all got good points, and nobody is completely bad. Nobody is completely good. And like I say, we cherry pick from our own lives. So I very rarely write characters that I have nothing in common with. We usually kind of take bits of people that we know and put them all together, mesh them together. So yeah, I would get on with them, I think, yeah.
In Looking for Leo, the story is based around a woman that basically kidnaps a kid and thinks that he's her lost son. Is that common, or was there a story that sort of sparked that?
Yeah, I suppose, well, just bits that I read in newspapers, really. And again, I do enjoy, maybe I do it too often, but I do enjoy writing about damaged people, especially damaged females, because everybody expects females to have that softer maternal side to them. So I always think it's nice to subvert convention and to have people who aren't like that at all. So I do enjoy going down that avenue. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed writing Looking for Leo, I must say. Sometimes when you're writing a book, it's really tricky and it sticks and it doesn't flow, but Looking for Leo just flowed. I found it so easy to write, so I enjoyed that one.
Do you ever have to get yourself in a mood to write particularly hard scenes or nice scenes?
Yeah, definitely. I read about people who can just go on the train or on a bus and just get out a notepad and write. I can't do that. I've really got to get into that mindset. And sometimes I'll wander about the house, have a cup of tea, go off and walk the dog, give myself some thinking time. Yeah, I've got to be in a certain frame of mind to write certain things. Yeah, absolutely. And I find that more as I get older. I can't just suddenly sit down, when they say sit down and just write, I can't do that. I've got to have the ideas and everything in my head before I go. And yeah, difficult. Yeah, there's been times where some of the writing's been difficult, writing about difficult subjects. In Looking for Leo, there was a particularly difficult area. I mean, it hasn't been released yet and it worried me writing it, and it'll worry me as it gets released. But so far the reviews coming in are okay about it. I also think any book that has child abduction in it you've got to be so sensitive. You've got to write it so carefully because it can be a trigger for people. So I hope I've done it justice. I hope so.
Well, I think so.
Thank you.
Is there any subject that you would never write about?
Yes, yeah. Simply because they're too personal to me, and also they may upset friends and family. I probably wouldn't write about suicide because I had a friend lost her life during lockdown. I've written about dementia because my mum had dementia, and I know a lot of people, that's a sensitive subject, but we had such a tricky time with it. It was an outlet for me. I wouldn't write about lots of animal cruelty and torture. My books tend to be kind of psychological. There isn't a great deal of violence in them. It's the hint of what could be, really. And I think if I was to write about something I didn't feel comfortable with, that would probably come across in my writing. I know that you need to stretch yourself as a writer, but I think there are limits.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You a plotter or a pantser?
Both, definitely both. Yeah, I've got to have like the overarching theme of what I'm going to write in my head. But then sometimes once you start writing, other ideas come to you, so you just get those ideas out. But I couldn't sit down with an empty head and just write and write and write. So I think, yeah, a bit of both, a bit of both. I admire people who are pantsers, I really do, because I think it's brilliant. But I couldn't do it.
Are you someone that's got lots of ideas for future books spinning around your head, or do you have a notebook with stuff that you want to write?
I kind of use TV, I use other books, I use my dreams. So I always have little bits of ideas. I have written books that haven't worked. And when I've looked back, I've thought, yeah, I can see why that hasn't worked. But at the time you think, oh, that would be great, that would work. And it doesn't always. So I'll usually only have maybe one or two ideas in my head at a time. I know somebody who have, I know people who have like loads. But I kind of tend to focus on the one I'm writing and then give myself a break, and then more ideas come a couple of months down the line for the next one. But yeah, again, I magpie ideas from everywhere and then see if they mesh together. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
What do you find most difficult about writing, and what do you love most about it?
Difficult is, it's actually a physical thing. I have spondylosis, like crumbling at the top of the spine. So actually sitting in that rigid position for hours at a time, I'm just getting over a trapped nerve in my shoulder and my elbow. So that's been really painful. It was a trapped nerve in the other shoulder and the other elbow a couple of years ago. But that's the physical thing. The easy thing about writing is that I love language. I love reading. I just love words. So I love, when I'm writing, I love experimenting with sentences and phrases to see what works and what conjures up images. But kind of mentally, there's nothing that I dislike about writing. I love it.
What was the moment that you thought, that's it, I've made it, I'm an author now?
Oh, I'm tempted to say never, because all authors are riddled with doubt. So when I was first published, there was that rush of excitement. And then you realise that you've got to keep going. You can't just say, I've had a book published, I'm an author, that's it. You have to work at being an author. There's lots of other things with it. There's the publicity, there's the marketing, there's everything with it, really. And it's an ongoing process. And I very rarely introduce myself as an author. I always feel a bit embarrassed by it. I don't know why that is. It's a bit like bearing your soul, I think. And it sounds egotistical as well, because if you say I'm an author, people think you're up there with Ian Rankin and J.K. Rowling. Do you know what I mean? And there's different levels of authors. So it's a tricky one. It's an ongoing process.
See, to a reader, that sounds crazy, because especially if anyone wants to write to us, if you've written a book and it's been published, you're an author. So it's so interesting to, when you've got 10 books, to still think that you're not.
Yeah, I know, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah. But I think most authors are the same. They are riddled with doubt, and I think it's because you are kind of exposing your thoughts. You're writing things, and it's like, I spoke to somebody the other day, and I said my first book being published was like showing everybody my personal diary. I felt really, really exposed, and sometimes you think, why am I doing this? But we continue doing it. Yeah. And there's also so many authors out there. You're constantly looking at other people thinking, I'm not as good as them. They're a proper author. I'm not a proper author. Lots of us do that.
Do you read a lot?
I do, not as much as I'd like to, simply with working and writing. But I read every night. I love my Kindle. I absolutely love my Kindle. I always have a book on the go with the Kindle. I've read not many during lockdown, actually. I've only read 3 or 4 books during lockdown because I only read on a night when I go to bed, so it's a couple of chapters. If I'd had holidays, I will read 6 or 7 books while I'm away on a week's holiday. But of course, we haven't had that. And during the lockdown, I've either worked or felt that I should be writing. So it's a strange thing, really. Yeah.
What's your go-to reads?
Psychological thrillers, actually, almost. And it's not because that's what I write, it's just what I'm drawn to. I love the mystery, I love the intrigue, I love all the different plot ideas, and that's what I tend to go for, really. Not so much I do like crime thrillers, but mainly psychological thrillers.
What's some of the best ones you've read recently then?
Oh, right. Oh, you've caught me out here. I'm trying to remember the names of the ones I've just read. I read The Dollhouse by Phoebe Morgan. I really loved that one. The Housewarming by Susie Lines, S.E. Lines. That was amazing. I love all her writing. I read The Dry by Jane Harper, which I loved. Totally not what I expected. I really, really enjoyed that one. So there are certain ones that kind of stick in your mind, aren't there, really? And the very first book that I read on my Kindle was called How to Be a Good Wife. I think it was by Emma, it might be Emma Chapman. And I loved it. And another one that I've read 2 or 3 times, and I would read it again. And also My Sister, the Serial Killer. I thought that was really clever.
Oh, yeah, I keep seeing that and really need to read that.
Yeah, oh, it's really clever. Yeah, a little bit of kind of humour in there, which you don't expect in that genre, but it was really. They're the kind of books that I read, and I think, wish I had written that.
It's interesting you say that, because Tony Ford posted about not being able to read the same genre as he writes anymore because he finds it too difficult to step back and compare. So it's really interesting actually that you read in the same genre that you write.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Sometimes you can kind of hit an overload point. Maybe it's just too much. And I know of other authors, not many, but Rob Ashman tells everybody he doesn't read. He's a fantastic writer and he doesn't read. I mean, that's amazing, because the only way I've learned to write is to read other people to see how it's done. So that's an amazing skill that he's got.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I mean, his books are fantastic. So
yeah, I know. Clever guy.
Goes on in his head.
Yeah, I know.
But he's lovely, so it's fine.
Oh, he is. Yeah, him and his wife are lovely. Can't wait to meet them at Harrogate again.
Yeah, me too. He's promised me a beer, so I need to keep into his word. Apparently, it's going to be hard to actually get him to cough up for one. So. Are you friends with lots of other authors?
Yeah. I mean, Rob and his wife Karen, they are so funny. They are lovely, lovely couple. I mean, all the Bloodhound people, Anita Waller, who is absolutely lovely. And of course, all the readers like yourself, Susan Hunter. I would never have thought it possible to actually make friends online, but it's true. Even without the lockdown has just kind of brought people together even more, really. So yeah, we all interact, and it's all lovely to know there are other people in the same position.
Have you noticed your readership or anything going up this year or last year with the lockdown?
A little bit, but I think a lot of people were off work, maybe not getting paid as much, a bit worried. So it was a bit fragmented, really. There was people who kind of clustered together, and then other people who fell away for obvious reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've got my ARC group, which the people in there are so supportive. They're amazing. So yeah, it's actually lovely. I don't know. I've said this to my husband. I don't know how authors did it before the internet came along. What a solitary existence that must have been. I don't think I could have stuck it out, actually. because on a really, a really bad day, lockdown, tiredness, doubt, to know that there are people out there supporting you makes such a big difference. It really does. So you're all brilliant. We love you.
We love you as well. So the feel is mutual. What's the most interesting thing you found when you've been doing research?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one. I actually don't know. I mean, I've started a newsletter for Crime Fiction Addict, and I'm trying to put interesting facts on there. And there was one in the one we did this month about toenail clippings being sold at an auction of, I think it was Al Capone. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that is just bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've got it in my bookshelf behind me, a crime book, forensic crime book, to get facts from there. So I really need to sit, because I got it over Christmas time, and have a flick through that and see what's in there. But I'm not sure that actually, it's a tricky one. I don't have a ready answer for that, I'm afraid.
That's fine. What was I just going to ask you? I've totally forgotten now. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
Oh gosh, everything. Everything. You mean to do with work as an author, or just generally in
anything
life?
Yeah, anything.
Well, last year I walked the dog. He's a collie. He's full of life, lively, drives us nuts. He pulled me along because he smelt a fox. I tripped over a tree stump that I didn't know was there. My glasses went flying. I managed to right myself. I got up and continued walking him through the village, chatting to people, completely unaware that my glasses were skew with and my nose was pouring with blood. And people were too polite to say anything. They're all chatting, "Hi, how are you?" I got back home, looked in the mirror, and I was horrified.
Oh, I understand being polite, but when someone's bleeding, surely
Yeah, you
that's
think
sort
they would
of...
say something. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I embarrass myself constantly. During the lockdown, my friend sent me a rude video of a teacher who was pretending to be drunk and swearing. And I meant to send some lessons on the WhatsApp group, and I sent the rude video instead. The governor, the head teacher, everybody got it. Everybody. I was the laughing stock of the school. So when you're talking about people embarrassing themselves, I'm the queen. I do it on such a regular basis. I tried to join a Zoom meeting at work last night that isn't actually happening until tonight. And I stupidly sent everybody another WhatsApp message saying, "I'm waiting for the meeting. Where are you all?" And they all said, "It's tomorrow." Here we go again with Judith. I do it all the time.
Oh yeah, don't worry, I do as well. It's fine. Makes life more interesting, I always say.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. You have to laugh at yourself. My dad always used to say, you have to laugh at yourself, and I do it constantly. And to be honest, I don't mind people laughing at me. It's just part of life. Yeah, I don't really care.
No, I don't either.
Love a good sense of humour. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not one of them permanently outraged. I just go with the flow.
Life's too short.
Oh God, exactly. It really, really is. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't get really serious people. I can't be serious for 5 minutes generally. Even at work.
Yeah, especially at work.
I work in retail, so my boss is constantly walking out the back because I've muttered something and he's laughing, but obviously he's my boss, so he can't let the customers see that he's laughing all the time. Because I mutter, so they can't hear. But yeah, and I wind up the cold callers that call from India about electricity and stuff, and my colleagues are absolutely dying. I need it quiet. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, I've found over the years as well, the way to get through to children to learn is humour. If you're rigid and stern with them, it's not going to work. You've got to use humour to get through.
Yeah.
So it helps. Yeah.
I mean, I remember my funny teachers more than the strict ones.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, definitely.
Humour, it opens minds.
Yes. Are your family fans of your books?
Yeah, they've been brilliant again. I'm so lucky. Colleagues, friends, family, they've all been absolutely brilliant, because I have heard, some people say that the family don't support them. No, I am so, so lucky. My husband is really supportive. He doesn't read my books because he's an engineer, and believe it or not, he actually sits and reads engineering manuals for fun. But my mother-in-law reads them, my nieces, my sister, my friends, yeah, they're all absolutely brilliant.
They must feel really lucky then that they get to read all your stuff first.
Well, I've got them, they're willing to read it.
If you were to invite 4 famous people to a dinner party, who would you invite?
Oh, right. I would say Edgar Allan Poe, because my dad got me to read his stuff when I was a kid, which is a bit strange, but there you go. Let me think. Charles Dickens. He always seemed like quite a nice chap. Do they all authors, did you say? Or just anybody?
Just anyone. Yeah.
Anyone. Maybe a famous politician, Barack Obama. And maybe you could bring Michelle along, because she seems like she's always up for, a bit of fun.
Yeah, good and popular choices, actually. The Obamas more than anything.
Yeah.
Would you cook or would you get takeaway?
Oh, I'd cook. Yeah, I like cooking. Yeah, I wouldn't say it'd be brilliant, but I do like cooking. Yeah. I'm not sure what I would cook. What I would cook. Oh, it will be something with garlic mushrooms, something nice and easy.
Awesome.
Yeah. And maybe some apple crumble for afters.
What was I just going to ask you? Would you consider writing with any other authors?
I'm not sure really. I know some people do it. I think it would have to be somebody whose writing style was similar to mine. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a mishmash. I mean, I wouldn't actively seek to do it, but I never say never. If somebody offered me and we had some decent ideas, then I'd possibly consider it. Yeah.
Are you working on anything at the moment?
I have just started. It's about 1,000 words. Yeah. So with my shoulder and my elbow, I've been in a great deal of pain, and I've waited a month, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks to try and get it to heal before I start again, because I don't want to be back to square one. So I have just started. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, big secret. Well, not big secret, no. It's got a working title of The Midnight Child, but whether or not that will stay, I don't know. We shall see.
Do you find it difficult deciding on character names and titles?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I do my family tree, so I often use names from back in the family because that always helps. Titles are a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I mean, you probably know Looking for Leo wasn't going to be called Looking for Leo. It had a different title completely. I've written entire books, 90,000 words, but I can't think of a title. If you speak to most authors, it's awful. It's trying to think of it. Sometimes nothing works, and you've just got to wait and wait and wait, or ask your publisher for ideas. And some come straight away, like The Other Mother, that came straight away, Undercurrent, and then some. There's just no title, nothing works. It's a tricky one, that one. Yeah, but how can you write 90,000 words, but you can't think of 3 for a title?
I don't know.
I know, it's bonkers, it really is.
This is why you're the author, and I just ask the questions. Don't ask me, I don't know. Can you tell us one surprising thing about yourself that people wouldn't know about you?
Gosh, not really. I'm pretty boring, actually. I'm very boring. The only thing that sticks with me is I was once involved in an emergency landing in a plane, and I hate flying, and I thought that I would be the woman, screaming, and I wasn't. Everybody else on the plane was screaming, and I had this calm sensation, and you just think, well, what will be, will be. And we did land, and it was safe. We landed at speed on a very short runway that went out to the sea. And it was a bit hair raising, but we did it. And you'd think with that happening that I would think, well, that was my thing and it's never going to happen again, but I still hate flying. I hate it more than ever.
So if I ask you what your perfect day would be, then it wouldn't involve flying anywhere.
No. We went on the Eurostar last year and it was fabulous. It was so easy. There was no stress of waiting in the airports, and perfect day would, of course, be laying on a nice sunny beach if I got there by train, not in a plane. No, thank you.
Where in the world?
Where in the world? My favourite place ever is Malta. I absolutely love Malta. Or another small island by Gozo. But I do like France. We went to France last year and that was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Somewhere warm.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at this time of year.
Yeah.
Who is the most famous person you've ever met?
Right, let me think about this one. We were in a restaurant once in Malta when Billy Connolly and Pamela Stevenson came in with a family, and they sat down and had a meal. Most famous person. At my niece's wedding, the Kaiser Chiefs were the best men. They had 4 or 5 best men, so yeah, so that was quite famous. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And who's your hero? Who's your absolute, the person that you'd love to meet?
Oh gosh, I've never really hankered after meeting somebody. Isn't it strange? I know a lot of people do, but it's not something I've ever really thought I would love to meet them. I think heroes are everyday people, really, to be honest. You know, my family, I think they're all heroes. My mum and dad, who had a grueling time during the war growing up, you know, impoverished childhoods, houses bombed, I always think they're the heroes. So I don't really have anybody in mind that I would love to meet. You know, like some people say I'd love to meet them, and no, nobody really. I think I've met all the heroes in my life.
Do you have one burning ambition to do for the rest of your life? Is there anything you want to achieve?
Yeah, I have a #1 bestseller. A bit unobtainable, but there you go. I think that's everybody's dream, really. You know, like all authors say, I write for the love of it. We do, but the love would be to get this #1 bestseller. Yeah. That would be amazing.
And I used to ask if people wanted their books turned into TV series or film, but the answer generally was yes. So I assume that's the case.
Oh yes, yeah. As long as they did it, you know, sensitively and made a success of it. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who says no is lying.
Any of your books in particular that you'd like to see made?
The latest one, Looking for Leo, that would be good. I think that would lend itself nicely. That would make a nice TV drama. You know, if anybody's listening out there.
Yeah. I know, I don't know where these people are. I need to try and contact them, just tie them down and tell them.
I hear these stories about, you know, they were sitting on a bus and they picked a book up and there happened to be a famous TV producer and they turned it into a film, and I think, no, that just does not happen. It really doesn't. It seems to me that producers and directors, like say, that they cherry pick the top books, don't they? Because they don't have time to go through every book released because there are so many of them.
Yeah, there is.
But if anybody's listening, Looking for Leo would lend itself nicely.
And I think that's all the questions I have for you, unless there's anything else you want to tell us about.
No, not really. I'm just going to carry on writing and I'm going to get myself back to work tomorrow, and life goes on, well, kind of as normal, but not really. Yeah, my daughter-in-law, my son works away, so she's in our bubble with her baby. He's only 2 months old, so I've been kind of trying to help out with them. But yeah, now my shoulder's getting a lot better, back to writing, and then you're back to your uni work.
Yep, try and revise.
Yeah. It's difficult to find the motivation, isn't it? I think it's, yeah, because other people provide motivation. So when you're working on your own, you've got to be really determined, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking from experience, I did an OU degree, And yeah, with nobody else around, you've just got to force yourself on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Just one last thing. Do you just want to tell everyone where they can find out more about you and your books?
Yes, I am on Amazon as J.A. Baker. Or if you were to go onto the Bloodhound book site, there is a little bio there and all of my books are listed. I also have a Facebook page, J.A. Baker. Please feel free to get in touch. And I am hopefully in the process of setting up a website. I did have one, but it didn't really work for me. So I'm going to try and design my own because I'm always happy for people to get in touch. Twitter, I'm also on Twitter, J.A. Baker. Please interact. You know, I love chatting to people.
Awesome. Thank you.